Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to another fun Sunday edition of Momentus. Let me make sure everybody's moving in here, filing in single file. Whether you have a body or not, you're welcome here. The chat is now turned on, so we'd love to hear where you're from. Say hello. We have a great. I'm really excited about this event for a number of reasons. First of all, we need to kick off spooky season right. And I don't think there's a better way to do that than with these two gentlemen. The Q&A box is also on. If you have questions for either Dave Tango or Steve Gonsalves, you can ask them questions. That's why we're here. We're here to do some myth busting and talk about the mythology behind some of these things and some behind the scenes stuff. Look, we got people from Utah and Oregon and Virginia and San Diego and all over the place, Western New York. Yep. Raleigh, the Netherlands. Okay, so we're now an international contingent, which I wonder if spirits speak with a dialect. I wonder if there's an accent sometimes. We're going to find out today, though. If you have a meet and greet, just stay right here in this session. We will immediately commence meet and greets after our main event here. But you're not here to see me. You're here to see two brilliant men. I actually just caught up on some episodes a couple nights ago. And it's cool to see like baby versions of these two, and now they're like dashing gentlemen. Gentlemen, would you like to join me for this before I say awkward things and say what a fan I am of what you guys do and how the real Dave Tango, hello, yes, Steve, welcome.
Hey, how's it going, Charlie?
It's going pretty good. I don't know why I went into like AM radio voice. It just started going that way. Thanks. My father was a disc jockey, so it's like in my genetics, I guess. So you guys are joining us from the East Coast, is that right?
For me, yes.
Excellent.
Same here, Massachusetts,
Woohoo.
and I'm at my house here with my cat, and things have just started getting spooky over here, quite honestly. The fall leaves have started to usher in, so that means everything is dying. But that
Yeah,
for me is beautiful. What a time of year.
it's the best. The East Coast autumn is just magic. It is. It feels a little haunted. And Dave, your beard is looking as good as ever. I'm going to be jealous of it the entire time. I just want to like just let that go for a moment. Sorry.
It's just pure laziness, really.
Okay. All right. Well,
It kind of looks just like a floating mask because his
it does.
beard everything blends in.
That's true.
I actually think about doing that, of just wearing all black and then with the black background and just being a floating head.
It's like a green screen suit. You just see a floating sort of mask of a face. You're right, Steve.
You could just puppeteer yourself and stay behind the curtain, but just stay behind that curtain and
Can you take
puppeteer
a puppet of
yourself.
me, please? Don't you
Be
have
back there drinking coffee.
something like a face or something?
Is that Jim Henson behind the curtain back there? Is that what's happening? Um, well, I'm really excited. You guys, I know this is oh my God, here we go. We got cloning
There
now.
it is.
This
I
is
knew it.
good.
I knew you had it there.
What?
You son of a. Are we allowed to curse on this or no?
Of course, please.
You son of a bitch.
What?
I like the permission of that. I really do. This is so good. I mean, listen, when I think of this sort of domain and this sort of topic, you guys are top of the list. You guys have always been so fun to watch, but also like take it seriously. And it's your skepticism plus your curiosity has always been great. Can we just talk a little bit first about, what this journey has been for you guys? I mean, we started. When did you first get started?
Allow me to start.
Yeah,
Hello here.
Dave squared. What would you like to?
I'm not gonna stop with this thing.
Do not. I shouldn't even brought it up. Don't you have one? I need one of you.
Yeah. It's like face off. Let's go.
Face off.
Okay.
Sorry, what was the question? Let's get serious here, guys.
Let's get serious, Steve. Steve, yeah. When did you first get started in this sort of pursuit? Like how long? What are we talking? Like, and how did it start for both of you?
Well, for me, I always interested, and then would start reading books about it when I was really young. Read a book called ESP, Poltergeist Hauntings, by Lloyd Auerbach, and that was it for me. And it just kept me going, and had a brief run-in with the Warrens, worked with them for a little bit, met Mr. John Zaffis, started my own team, eventually met Jason. Then we started working together. And then we're here.
Nice, nice.
I like
Dave,
the
Yeah,
story.
little
that's,
package for you.
yeah, I like the CV. Dave, tell us about your
Uh,
career in.
Geez. So, growing up, my father was a police officer, and he would come home and tell me and my brother stories of things that would, paranormal things that would happen to either him or people that he knew, other officers and people, things that would actually happen during these events. Um, and growing up with that, I started to realize, wait, these are people who back then, especially if they were to put this in their report, they would have gotten a little, some scrutiny.
Yeah,
So I knew this was real. This was really happening to people who could get in trouble. So growing up with that, I had an interest from the beginning of that, and yeah, I joined these guys. They let me be on an episode with them, and it's been history ever since. I don't know what I did right or wrong, but I'm still here.
it's still here, still going.
Still doing it.
The beard continues. I think
It
the
continues.
beard continues.
Keep going and keep
The-
going.
it's yeah, you're like Samson. We'll just keep, can
That's
never
what
cut it
it
off.
is. My power right here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I caught an episode the other night actually of you two, and I think a theater space, like an opera or concert hall, investigating, and it reminds me of how different it is now, maybe compared to back then, of this being in the zeitgeist. Do you feel like this has become more mainstream and more popular than it's ever been? Like where are we at with this sort of culture of it all?
I think it's definitely probably as big as it's ever been.
Yeah,
But I'd say fueled by um, just now you have so many generations that are into it. When our show first came out, you had, our generation, maybe a generation above, we were sort of the younger folks watching TV, that sort of thing, getting into stuff. And now the paranormal has come that far, and now you have all generations. We meet people that are 15, 16. We meet people that are 70, and they all love the paranormal, where for a while it was very, very specific
yeah,
sort of age group, I'd say. It was very much that 20 to 40-year-old. You didn't really get out of that in either direction too much. Now everybody, and you have YouTube, you have
yeah.
social media, and people can share their experiences much more. And I think it's bigger than it ever has. It doesn't have the sort of like, holy cow, people do this kind of momentum to it
Yeah.
that it did. But here we are. This is 20 years ago, so I wouldn't expect that now. I think it's booming.
I like the stinger we're doing. And Colin 94 coming in. We've got a question from the audience. And by the way, if you do have a question for these guys, please put it in the Q&A feature there at the bottom so we can get to your question because sometimes the chat will push your questions down. So, yeah, like you've said, I think it started in a way that was like, whoa, this is a thing that people do. And it's like, there's equipment and there's, oh my God. And now it's more, more prevalent. And I think with more prevalence, I think that also increases the likelihood of people who are utzing it a little bit or maybe want something to be a certain way. Then so they've sort of pushed things in a direction. You guys seem to balance the sort of being open to possibility and staying skeptical. How do you do that? How do you both, like Dave, how do you remain open and curious, but also the sort of like critical eye to this stuff?
Well, I mean, when Steve and I are investigating, we are just having a good time for the most part, 90%. And, in my opinion, if there is a spirit there, it's going to let you know no matter what. I'm not saying we goof off all the time. We obviously we try to disprove and we try to do whatever. But if you're in a truly haunted place, no matter what you're doing, you'd be talking about Star Wars, which we have, or video games, which we have, and something will happen. It doesn't matter. Like people are like, well, you got to talk about this. Talk about. You can, and yes, we have seen success with that, with lining up questioning and all
Yeah.
that. But if something's there, you're gonna know, no matter what you're talking about. But
It's
then
funny, yeah, like the idea that like a spirit would be like, Oh no, I don't want to interrupt their discussion of Call of Duty. We should probably maybe stay. Yeah, we'll let them know later when they ask us a question. We'll be there. Yeah,
Right.
yep. And Steve, how about you? How do you balance the possibility versus the reality?
I think, much like Dave said, you have to have that mindset of it's most likely not paranormal. It very much is way more likely to be just a natural occurrence in the environment, but we always want it to be something paranormal. So really trying to figure things out first. Some people get a little, bummed, I think sometimes by our technique sort of because they think that we don't want it to be paranormal or we don't want it to be a ghost, but that's certainly what we want it to be. And sometimes, we struggle with that a little bit because you know, we, we want it to be paranormal. And sometimes we'll be like, gosh, I hope, if there is this crazy ghost here, the homeowner is going to be in a much worse situation. And now they're really going to be, but we can't, hide it from them. So sometimes, even though we want it to be paranormal, we're kind of hoping it isn't paranormal. And sometimes, um, you could tell the homeowner or the client doesn't care either way. And then we really hope it's paranormal. But we always want it to be a ghost, even if we are trying to disprove things, and we try to disprove everything, and that comes down to techniques and whatever is out there for myths and legends and paranormal stories and theories and really everything. At least personally, and I think a lot of investigators I know, you don't just go, okay, that's a theory bouncing around. Can my K2 meter light up when I'm communicating with this ghost for yes and no, that sort of thing? Let's not just assume. Let's really try to figure it out. Is it possible? Can it even be something that is possible? If not, let's start, throwing this stuff out of here or trying to dispel these things. But a lot of it is true and is happening, and you can't, discount it or dispel it. And that's where the true fun of
Mhm.
what we do is.
One thing that I could say, I think you agree with this, Steve. One problem we have when we're investigating is when something is happening, when what we do right then and there. Like right then and there, what is our decision? Do we freeze and just let it continue? Or what do we always call it? Like, do we collapse that bridge? Do we go towards it and possibly, because we've noticed sometimes when something's happening, sometimes it's beneficial to just stay where you are and let it happen to experience it. But other times, you want to get closer to it. But there were times when we would go closer to it and then it would just dissipate. That bridge would collapse.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's something I always 50-50 every time. Like I don't know what to do at that moment. We look at each other. What do we do? Do we get closer? Do we stay where we are? And that's usually a problem for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and by the observation changing the experiment kind of a thing, I get that. And it's interesting too. I mean, we've got people who've obviously watched the show and have wanted for things to be a certain way, but also just being open to the idea that there is something as like, a lens smudge or a bug flying through the camera for a second and things like that that can explain away the explainable part of it, which is I can think what you're saying, like you're trying to get to the unexplainable. Which is where the sort of gold is. Is there is there a compelling piece of footage or something that you've encountered that you still can't explain or like that has lasted with each of you in a way that you could share?
Well, one off the top for me, and forgive me because I don't remember the name of the case. Steve, you may. It was with that baby carriage, not baby carriage, the bed. Remember that bed, Steve? And then I rocked it, and all of a
I
sudden,
do, of course. Oh yeah, of
remember
course
that
I do.
place? It was amazing.
Never seen anything like it in my life.
Yeah. So we were investigating, and one of the claims was that if I think if you were to rock it, or no, it rocked on its own. That's what it was. That the bed would rock on its own, the baby bed, and so I went over to it. Steve was there, and our camera guy was there, and I pushed it. I was like, "Oh," I was telling Steve the claim, and I rocked it. As soon as I did that, I pushed it. All of a sudden, and I've never seen anything like this ever. It looks like streamers shooting up into the sky like smoke, like little like smokes. What are those fireworks that go and they shoot up, like those types
Bottle
of.
rockets,
Is that what they are?
mortar shots.
Not the ones that streamers. Is that what they're called? Like when they shoot up and literally
Yeah.
it was like these streams, these fast streams of smoke shot up into the ceiling and like moved and wiggled and went up. And it happened for like maybe a good 10, 15 seconds. It wasn't like it just happened. It kept going. Sadly, unfortunately, we had two cameras on it. We had our camera guy's camera and we had our DVR camera on it. And it didn't pick it up. But we all saw it happen. We freaked out. You see our reaction to this.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to explain it. We went back to it the next day. We tried to we looked around, we'd see what could have caused that. That could be physical, but I'd never seen anything like that ever.
One regret I have is that we didn't have maybe a full spectrum camera on that. But how would we know? I also never seen anything like that. It was pretty crazy. As soon as it just, they looked like little miniature octopuses. I don't know how to say that, but just floating up off
Yeah.
of this baby cradle or whatever it was, just going up and then disappearing. We were just like,
Yeah.
what is this?
Yeah. And the fact that I kept doing it for a good 10, 15 seconds, it
Yeah.
wasn't it maybe saw something. This was happening in front of us. And even our camera guy, he saw it and was looking up. But yeah, it was crazy.
It's wild. And actually, we have a question in the audience. Elvira says, "What was your favorite debunking? Was there something your favorite?" There's like, "Yes, that's not a real. We got it. Great."
It's a great question. There have been a lot of really fun. I mean, it always is way more fun when it's paranormal. You know, then the excitement is just. But it is fun, and we do get excited when we disprove something because if you're a paranormal investigator, you're not a paranormal. You know, you're not investigating just to. You know, you're investigating. You know, you don't really. It doesn't always have to be a ghost for you to get excited about figuring something out. And I remember one where this restaurant kept saying that their silverware would move around. They couldn't explain it. They would put it up all nice and tidy, and then they would come back, an hour later, and some would be crossed and some would be on the floor or whatever.
Yeah.
And we saw it happen. We captured it happen. I said, well, this is crazy. This is awesome. And but in the spirit of not thinking everything is a ghost, we could have stopped there and said, holy cow, we caught footage of this silverware, this is amazing, which we would have done, but
Yeah.
you still want to go and check it out. So we did, and come to find out, all of that silverware was magnetized. And it wasn't because they were trying to do anything, or they had no idea. They just didn't put it together. And the reason is because a lot of restaurants, their trash cans are magnetized so that silverware will stick to it, so that when they're throwing the trash out at night, they don't throw out all their silverware or whatever. It sticks to the trash can. And that was such the case at this restaurant. So once we saw that and we're able to figure that out, and just to pull the TV curtain back a little bit, of course, producers and those and even us as cast members, it is a lot of fun and way more exciting when everything is paranormal. But I remember getting a phone call from one of the higher up producers that time. Tango, you may have received the same call, but he was like, "That was awesome." He's like, "That was so cool the way you disproved that. I wouldn't have thought of that." And he's like, "And now the restaurant, I just talked to them and they're psyched. They can go back to work now. They don't think there are ghosts running around." And he was really excited about that, which is what we're talking about here, sort of disproving or dispelling things a bit. That was cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think we all wonder, and people are bringing up Ghost Nation. They're bringing up a lot of your TV appearances and stuff too, like different stories around that. So make sure if you guys have questions, you put them in the Q&A, not in the chat. But I guess the bigger question is, can you walk us through like were there moments that were creepier in person than it was made on TV even? So the reverse, rather than it being creepier on TV, what was creepier in real life than the episode? Maybe if you've seen them.
That's a good, I would say maybe Sloss Furnace is one
Mhm.
that, um, only because I remember while I was there, seeing what we were seeing and hearing the things that we were hearing. I mean, we both, Tango and I, and even when I investigated with Jay on that case, we had some pretty cool experiences. But I remember we saw what looked like someone standing up and moving across the tracks and hearing the footsteps and that sort of thing. And when
Yeah.
you see it in the episode, it's just kind of like, okay. And it kind of looks like the cameras sometimes can make things look a little bright and nice. And I just remember it being so creepy, so dark and sinister, almost very, to sound crazy, but very Freddy Krueger like. You could
Yeah.
see him in the distance, not really, but your brain gets a little wild there. And we're seeing this and it's spectacular. And then you watch the episode, and although people did love the episode, and it's beautiful and shot, whatever, I'm not saying any of that. But for me, it just didn't capture how really creepy and scary it was winding around that property, really not
Yeah.
knowing what's on the other side. Because quite honestly, it seems like you're making TV, and that is very true. We have definitely a level of comfort.
Yeah.
No matter what's going to happen, those camera guys, they become our friends. They're gonna, if someone comes and tries to attack us or something,
Yeah.
they're gonna kick them away or something. But we are at the front there. If you see us creeping up, we are the front of the line there. They're
Yeah.
filming us, and we're the ones up there. So if a ghost for or whatever comes out or decides to do something, we're the ones that are taking that on. And it just didn't really portray that. I don't think.
Mm.
For me, I would probably say the Black Dahlia house, where they had the Black Dahlia murders in Los Angeles. Beautiful place, but the whole time you're there, at least for me, you're just creeped out. I guess knowing what happened there um, is kind of like playing a big part of it in my mind. And sometimes that's why I don't want to know everything in the beginning. I don't want to have all that research always in the beginning because that'll be in my mind when I'm investigating, and that's when you get creeped out. It's all a lot, most of it's in your mind. It's all in your mind. But besides that, the times when I'm the most creeped out has nothing to do with seeing a ghost or capturing something. It's when I have to like go get a remote piece of equipment somewhere down like this area by myself. Uh, and I'm like, I have a walkie-talkie, but sometimes they don't reach. And I just think to myself, man, something could happen to me right now, and nobody would know. We try, we're all about safety and they know where I'm going. So if I'm not coming back for a while, they'll look for me. But
Yeah.
that does play a part. I'm like, there's a lot of people who would not be doing this right now in my position.
I have to agree with you about the Black Dahlia house. I mean, every time I drove by that thing, I was like, I don't, and not even knowing the full story. Like, there's something about the aesthetic of the place, plus what happened there, plus the time. I don't know. There's something really off. Like, it's very just like, ugh, ugh.
Yeah,
No.
it's not a good feeling there for some reason. No, I don't play into feelings. I don't play into that. But for whatever reason, my brain and my body was like, I don't like it here. I don't like it here.
Yeah. Yeah.
The architect of that property
Yeah.
built the entryway to look like jaws, a mouth,
Yeah.
sinister teeth, and you can see it if you look at like photos of the entryway
Yep.
of the Sowden house, which is the Black Dahlia murder house. It looks like jaws with fat teeth, like werewolf mouth. Like
Yeah.
There you go. There it is.
that's the aesthetic they went for. So already you're set up for like, oh, this is, and Dave, I agree with you. Like that place is one of the places where I think we all felt sticky for a
Mhm.
few weeks. Like you just felt
Hmm.
the darkness dripping off you for like weeks after leaving that house.
Yeah.
And we caught some EVPs there that will curdle your stomach. Really, really nasty stuff. And
Yeah.
furthermore, using cadaver dogs, we were kind of able to sort of maybe because I know that was a bit of a myth, a bit of a legend there that did, the murder happen by,
Yeah.
the and we had cadaver dogs there who unequivocally, hit in that basement as human remains. Had it tested positive, the whole thing. There are newspaper articles about it. How that murder may have been solved through that.
Yeah.
So that was cool to know that maybe through our investigation we were able to play a little part of, confirming that he maybe did. And just with that, the son, Steve, I think his name's Odell.
Yeah.
Went to write a book to prove his father's innocence. Said, "There's no way my dad did this. I'm gonna, and through his research, he comes to find out that his dad actually did do it. And now he has to confront that, like, oh gosh, here I am trying to prove my father's innocence by writing this book to only find out he may have actually done this. Oops,
Yeah. Oof.
ooh, what a
Can't imagine.
story at that place.
Wild. It's a beautiful place, but yeah, definitely unsettling, even to look at it from the outside. We got actually a question in the audience for you, Steve. Emily asks, "What do you think?" Sorry, it was flickering. Where was it? Oh, there it is. I've heard Steve say once about a flickering effect theory about ghosts. Can he explain a little bit about what that is?
That, that's actually a theory that Ed and Lorraine Warren would sort of talk about, and it has to do with the paranormal and energy sort of flickering in and out of. Um, to them, it wasn't dimensions, it was very much here, this world, and they just, for whatever reason, being made of energy, was
Yeah.
in that state. And that was how they sort of, you can read in their, old work that how they could explain why sometimes people would get, you know, images of ghosts, say for them, the white lady, whatnot, sometimes and not get it other times because it is in that flickering state. So you can imagine if it's flickering, you take a picture, it has to be timed at that moment just perfectly when the shutter opens.
Right.
So, you could have two people standing side by side, pshing, 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 and, nobody gets a picture. Maybe one person does, maybe, you just don't know. Very fringe theory, obviously. I think a lot of people would maybe, turn a bit of a frown to that nowadays. But back then, although they weren't scientific investigators by any means, they did sort of try to have some scientific method to them, and I think this was one of their ways to try, sort of, explain how it is possible that somebody could, you know. But most, I think, physicists, scientists, that sort of thing, nowadays, um, would maybe, poo on that sort of theory.
Poo poo.
Poop. I don't know what to say. I don't want to like,
They've been pew
swear.
pewed. I think it's interesting too because the equipment over time, has evolved as obviously technology is continuing to advance all the time. We actually have a question in the audience who Layla is going to the Stanley for their birthday, and they're curious for these tips. Like, what would you consider the best form of evidence during an investigation? What equipment would you consider your favorite? Because maybe she wants to see if she can experience something like that.
Layla, happy birthday, by the way. Um, so as far as evidence goes, I mean, anything that will document your experience, I would say, and it's very simple. I mean, recorder, or camcorder, some kind with night vision, full spectrum. I know Steve, that's your go-to. Yeah, you. But so yeah, really for me, anything that will document what is happening. And be sure to have good placement of your equipment. Get the whole room. Oh, it's Hawes. Hey, Jay, what's up, buddy? I mean, you got everybody, don't you?
Yeah, then we got the skinwalkers around here, so it's
Listen,
listen. Yeah, so documenting the experience and making sure that like I mean obviously you've got EVP, you've got like lots of different little sort of there's the entry point of it all too. I know we did an event with Amy and she had the ghost bell, is that what's Wait, who is that? What just happened? This is gonna continue. the phantom ghosts of castmates. But yeah. So Layla, hopefully that answers your question. Anything to document the experience that with a piece of equipment that is at hand. Yeah.
Just piggybacking on that question, because what's really awesome about the Stanley Hotel is, just bringing it into that myths and theory and disproving or even, going further into some of the theory out there. The whole thing of, can these large rock deposits, mineral deposits, that sort of thing, hold energy or work? You hear it's even in movies now where they're talking about, the haunting being stored in the rock bed or in the earth or in the atmosphere somehow. But that is one of the places where you can say that that might not be just myth or legend. Scientists will tell you that, you can store energy in a large rock bed, in a large deposit of some mineral. And even at times, they've been able to send certain frequencies in and then go back and retrieve those frequencies at a later time. And the Stanley Hotel is built, in a mountainside. It really is. So,
Yeah.
if any place, where that could work as, a bit of a catalyst, I think Stanley Hotel, being able to, use that in your investigation,
Yeah.
remembering that, wow, here is this large mineral deposit, and is it possible that, anything you can do to turn the odds in your favor, in investigating a place that is built, you know, uh, like that would be
Yeah.
also trigger objects. A lot of that stuff,
Yeah.
original to the hotel. They have a whole room that acts as a bit of a bit of a history center for the hotel there. And so talking about those items, remembering them and using them as trigger objects,
Mhm.
another thing that is people think it could be a bit of a myth or a legend in this, and maybe just on TV they do it because it's fun, but no, it really, really works. So much so that, I talked about it with you before, but
Yeah.
we used a trigger object on a case once, and it was so awesome. I bought it, and it's this sword here. It's a Civil War sword, and this worked great as a trigger object on a case for us. So trigger objects, definitely. Is it? I remember that. Is it? Maybe even that was mine. Who knows? But
Yeah.
a lot of things can come from that.
We did that and we role played with it. And sometimes you may feel a little silly putting on a costume, but it worked. We don't know, which part of it worked, but we did everything that we could to try to connect with what we were told was there, and it worked. So that was a really cool case.
Yeah, it worked great until you blindfolded me, Dave. This isn't part of the. This isn't part of the trick. Hey, what's going
That
on?
old trick. Oh yeah.
That old trick.
Yeah, it's like, oh, just
What?
walk off this plank here real quick. It's part of that reenactment.
Jeez, what's going on?
Wait a minute.
Also, to add to that real quick, it's kind of overlooked a lot, but it's important to take notes. The time of day, when you heard the sound, when you heard, I love one of my favorite things, and it doesn't happen often, is when we go to a case, and they have a journal that's in a room, or usually it's like at an inn or a hotel, and they have people who write down times and what the environment was and what happened to them, and then you have a whole you have data now that you can. Some of it could be kind of out there, who knows, but you could at some point you're going to find a pattern through these things, and that's the only way we can really get
Yeah.
further in this field. So have depending on how long you're going to be there. Lena, was that her name? Lena?
Layla, yeah.
Layla. If you're going to be there for a week, or whatever, bring a notebook, write down things and times and environments and what was happening, and I think that would help you.
That's a great idea. I mean, like people, we are creatures of habit. We do things sort of cyclically, and we go to the places we're familiar with. That's a really good point. Patrick actually has a question about attachments, and I know I've talked about this with a couple of people, but have you ever had an attachment? He asks, Or how did case severely affect you when you returned home? If so, can you tell us about any of that? I mean, it's the idea that something might come with you is, I think a lot of people are wonder about that as well, because they've maybe had an experience where something sort of stays with them.
Yeah, for me, I've never had anything follow me or come home with me. Quite honestly, I think a lot of investigators sort of feel like, why? What am I doing at home that makes me that you want to come, or what is happening? Why, would they follow some person that is just in their life for a few days, a week, or, just maybe an attachment to an item, perhaps, but even then, you got to think of the intent, the reason, the why these things would be attached. Now, sure, is it something of great sentimental value to this, man or this woman or whoever, and they would never want to leave? Perhaps, but even then, you have to think of if you're someone who believes in eternity and that sort of thing, would even still that now you're talking eternity, infinity. You're talking
Yeah.
infinity. So would you really care about this item you held dear to you for maybe 20 years? I'm
Yeah.
not sure. Maybe. It's all very possible. And I really do think it is a phenomenon that does happen. I do think there are attachments to items. Nothing for me, luckily. But I don't want to live in a haunted home.
Yeah.
I have a lot of stuff that should be haunted. I look around and see all kinds of crazy stuff, but nothing ever. I value sleep, relationships. I value having a career, all
Yeah.
of which are very difficult to maintain during a real haunting. But I do think it is possible. Things like demonic attachments.
Hmm.
You think of Annabelle, you think of these dolls, and sure, maybe, of course, but I just think if you can imagine being a demon and you can really destroy humanity, do all of these things that you think of a demon being able to do, like traversing space and time on just a thought, destroying, the most biblically terrifying thing besides Satan himself, but he's gonna like hide in this doll and just come out every once like a, you have
Yeah.
to think of the how, why. Now, could there be someone who was a real jerk when they were alive, decide to, or maybe is still around that doll for whatever reason? Sure, maybe, yeah, and maybe a demon as well. But just always remember to think of the intent or the why or the, why would this be a thing? Why would it want to jump into this doll?
Yeah.
Or maybe because as an investigator, you're open to all possibilities. Maybe it just happens and there is no conscious thought to it.
Right.
Maybe just somehow in time there is an explosion of some sort of crazy cataclysmic interdimensional, I don't making things up,
Yep.
thing that happened that caused that to bind.
Mm.
Right.
Maybe, sure. Open to anything. But you just always have to think of the how is that really even possible?
I would agree with you. Like it's more of a mistake, something that, there's limits on the other side possibly too, so who really knows? I mean, as far as getting, something coming and staying with me, I mean, we've been to hundreds of cases and it's never really happened. I mean, I wish it would because I get to work from home. If that was possible. I would love that, you know.
I
Don't
love that you're
listen
doing,
to
it's like
lazy
remote
me.
work. Yeah.
It's like, all right. No,
He's a remote worker. Is what he said.
Yeah.
so,
Yeah,
Today coming to work today.
exactly. He's like, I don't know, I don't want to commute today. Can you just come here? Like, we'll get it done. Um, I mean, that's really interesting. I think, and I think it circulated last year, and it's a funny joke, but like, the idea, I think I might have even seen like a TikTok of it, where a ghost is just sitting there, like opening and closing a door over and over again, like doing these mundane tasks, and it's supposed to scare you, but you like look at this person doing the opening and closing of a door, and that's their existence. Like, there is an irony in that, right? It kind of takes it down from this like bigger, scary separateness into like just a dude opening and closing a door over here. It can be helpful for that fear factor, right? Like taking it down a little bit.
Right.
Um,
Just realizing hey, how, the what, is that even a thing?
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
people, they can dispel their own rumors and myths and by just expanding a little bit and thinking further. We had a lady once who thought for sure that there was a ghost tripping her.
Mm.
She was adamant. Every time she went to walk on this staircase, she tripped once and attributed it to the ghost and was terrified, so much so that she would walk outside to go around to the other entrance in the winter, in the whatever, just so she didn't have to walk through that section of her house. And story was she had heard through oral history, even people in the town officials, that there was a woman who passed away there and she fell on those stairs and broke her legs, laid there and died. Her hips, everything happened to her terrible. So but through just research, which she could have done herself, I'm sure. You just don't think that way unless you're investigating, right? If this stuff is just happening to you and you're scared, you're not necessarily thinking of that next step. But if she did, she could have saved herself many years because just through the history, the deeper research, we found out that the woman that was in question actually died hours away in a hospital, never even, fell in the stairway there and that sort of thing. And once she got that real history and saw like written down, um, she no longer tripped on the stairs there. She never attributed it to a ghost. And she's a very smart, bright woman who is excited about that. Is like, thank you. She's not still saying it was the ghost. I'm telling you. She's like, wow, thank you so much. I'm no longer afraid to, I don't have to go outside of my house and around in a snowstorm just to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
Uh, so
Just
that's
shows how powerful your mind is. You
Yeah.
know, that's all your fear right there.
that's right.
Right. Yeah. It's you know, the experiment is also you're part of that experiment in a certain way, right? You're not just an observer. You have to be impartial. You have to sort of be present to all of that. If anyone also, I have a clip. It's a clip that's gone around for a long time, but I wanted to put it to you guys from Gettysburg. You've probably seen it a million times. But what I'm curious about is, there's a lot of questions right now in the Q&A about, how can you tell if a photo is a double exposure? Do you have any ways to sort of like, what are the red flags of a location? Like, there's some pretty big questions here, but maybe we can sort of focus in on this piece of content, which for me always makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up because I don't understand it and I don't know how to get around it. So I don't mind. Would you mind if we just sort of put this up and you guys sort of chat about what you see?
Sure.
Okay.
I love
Again,
it.
I listen. I don't. I'm a lay person, but I saw this and I was like, I don't know. And again, it's from a little while ago. It was on tape. It was not digital, so there are aspects of that like you remove out of the process. But let's just take a look at this Gettysburg battlefield video and we'll see what we see. All right.
Ooh.
Can everyone see this? I just want to make sure. Great. Let's do
Okay.
this.
This is a battlefield.
Yes, that's right. This is the battlefield. It's a couple that is filming at night, and we'll get this going here.
Okay. Don't move in there. No, there's a motorcycle. See?
I don't see nothing down there. Can't be the motorcycles, honey. There's another sparkle. You see what I'm
What's
saying?
that? What is that?
Tree.
No. You moved it, right? Right there. See it?
Uh-huh.
Look.
There's nobody there. Where? I can't see.
Look. Is it those people?
Can't be.
There's nobody.
Not up in the
down there.
trees.
There's nobody down there no more. See?
So
Yeah.
that one messes with me on a number of levels. But what are you guys seeing here, and sort of how would you approach this position of this evidence? And should we see it again? And I can actually mute it, I think, too.
Now what they're saying, it's in front of the trees, right? It's not like behind the trees. It looks like, Steve, you agree with that. It's in front, like when it appears and walks. It has cadence of walking. So that to me is impressive. I have seen this before. It is
Yeah.
a famous video. The gentleman does say that, oh, it must be the motorcycles or something behind. So there must be a street back there that he's aware of. But I don't see how headlights can really create that. Um, so yeah, I mean, to me, it's impressive because especially that right there, when you see that
Yeah.
happen,
Yeah.
it looks like people walking.
Yeah, like soldiers marching, and it's also at different heights and
Yeah.
distances. And they move the camera too, and the thing is remaining static in the position that it was in as it stays or moves, right?
Yeah, I got to give props to the camera person because I assume it's on a tripod, so it's nice and
Mm,
still. They are
yeah.
moving it, they're going left and right with it. Um, it's the cadence for each of them seem very similar. And like you
Mhm.
said, it's on the top and it's on the bottom. So that to me is a little weird, why
Yeah.
it's all pretty much the same. Um, but I don't know, Steve, what do you think?
You know, if if we're judging it as somebody who's not there, right? So we have to assume that there's been no, additional effects added. There's been nothing weird. Can see with their own eyes that there are no people over there, right? So we're assuming that they've taken all of the investigative cautions that we would, as we are filming. This looks like infrared, right? So it doesn't look to me the way that people show up in infrared, solid people. It does look like when we capture stuff that we think is anomalous, something that we can't quite figure out. Um, Now, the only thing is, it's hard to judge on here exactly what the distance is. So if it is closer and it's just a bit of some camera trickery, which we were there, we would be able to see for ourselves. But without being there, assuming that it is in the distance, I like this. If it was closer to the camera, you could maybe say some insect sort of, because it does have, in some cases, the cadence of walking, but it is also very fluid in the motion,
Yeah.
which is also very interesting. But I tell you what, usually in these videos, I think most investigators can just literally go next, next, next.
Yeah.
Um, but if I saw that, I would probably bring it to Tango to take a look at. We'd probably bring it over to Jay and say, hey, what do you think of this? We'd share it with, Sherry and whoever we're investigating with and get everybody's take on it.
Yeah.
Then we would go back and try to recreate it. We would have people go out there, walk around, see what that looks like. We would then take stuff in the environment and put it closer to the camera, further away, do the distance thing, try dust, try smoke, try all kinds of different
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And then if we couldn't figure it out, we'd start high-fiving. Yeah.
That's a good question, actually, for those who are doing their own investigations. How do you celebrate when you find something that is unexplainable, is can't be pinned to something in physical reality?
First, you get emotional. I
Yeah.
mean, it's for me and for Steve, like if something's really happening, if it's
Just
real, you cry.
so
You,
like life,
you cry.
lifelike.
You do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because your brain and your body, it doesn't know how to react to something that seems unnatural, so you get emotional. And then after the fact, you do high five, you get excited. You can't wait to show your friends, you can't wait to show your coworkers, your colleagues, and get
Yeah.
and they get excited, and it just spreads like wildfire,
Yeah.
and that's either good or bad for the homeowner or the person, that sometimes they want it to be haunted, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
So we just we're the messenger, we bring it to them and say, hey, this is what we think it is. But it could be good or bad.
Yeah. Well, and we're sort of coming up on time now, and we're going to be going into our meet and greets. But I'm going to ask a couple of questions that are sort of an amalgamation of a few questions of the audience, and then just sort of few closing questions. But a number of people asking, and I think this probably comes up for you guys a lot. Favorite location you've always wanted to investigate. is Disney World haunted, etc. Like there's lots of location-based questions. So if you could maybe hit those for a moment.
I really hope Disney World is haunted.
Me too.
I really hope it is.
The stories are there. I've heard them. So I would say so. Probably Disneyland more so than World. But I tell you what, as being somebody who's alive, and I mean, maybe there are such fantastic things that my eyes, senses, and blood and guts have not experienced outside of Disney World. That could be quite magical. But I'd say now, I know that that's where I would haunt.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can't be the only one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Very
I
much
mean,
yes.
the party.
Um, yeah, Waverly Hills in Louisville, Kentucky for me will always be, I think maybe the most active and the most sort of in your face of places that we can go. There's a place at Tango and I investigated called Bucksteep Manor that blew our faces into the next world. We still think about it, talk about it. We have to make sure that it really happened. We can't believe it. And then wasn't there a third part to that?
well, there's a favorite place you've always wanted to investigate as well.
I would love any of the really haunted castles overseas or the Colosseum, I think would be quite I've had 3 different opportunities to investigate castles in all those places and haven't been able to make it happen, but someday I hope to. But the Colosseum would be so cool. So many people died there, so many animals.
Yeah.
For me, Paris Opera House, always wanted to go, just to go there. But
Yeah.
A lot of stories of it being haunted and the catacombs beneath it and all that. Yeah. What was the first part of that question?
Favorite places to investigate, places
Right.
you wish you could, and then is Disney World haunted? Those are the 3
Okay,
questions.
I think we got that. Yeah. Yep, good.
Amazing.
Yep.
Well, I mean, just as we close out here, I think I guess the biggest thing is in terms of where we're headed with the number of obviously technology being more accessible or maybe cheaper in some ways, or maybe more honed and maybe more expensive, but also like more attuned. What do you hope is going to happen for this sort of the paranormal investigation community? And obviously people are referring to you as an iconic duo here in the chat and in the questions here. They're like, when did you know you guys would be an iconic duo together? But what do you hope as sort of leaders and the stalwarts of the community happens over the next 5 years, 10 years for the community?
Jeez, leaders. I don't know.
Ooh.
I think just education. I'm
Yeah.
hoping people really just educate themselves and just don't think everything is a ghost,
Yeah.
and really know your equipment in and out. Really that way you're filtering through all the that isn't a ghost, because there I like you said, everybody has a camera now. Everybody has a phone that has a camera. If something strange happens, it's great. It's harder and harder, because now AI, I'll watch a video online and be like, that's amazing. And then literally I've been tricked. And it's like, oh no, that's AI. It's like, well, it's the future of this is going to be more difficult in that sense.
Yeah.
Why, we do love film. That's why we do love having a negative to show, okay, look, this is on film. This is not digital. Here's
Yeah.
source. But yeah, educate yourselves as much as possible. Get out there, have fun, but don't think everything's a ghost. Don't bring it to the homeowner or to a person without fully knowing what you're doing.
There are still teams out there that will investigate and say, yeah, it's going to be, $2,000 for us to, get these ghosts to move on for you or whoever it is or however it happens. That's still a little funny to me. We've never charged for an investigation. It's everybody sort of, but I think with Tango, I think education would be quite important if some folks would just sort of, if you're going to hold your, you know, K2 or EMF gauge or any of those gauges out there and ask someone to communicate with you and it flashes, you can't just say that means yes. You know what I mean? You need to really figure out like the how, the what, the why, the is this even possible? Would it like really think, go deep? And I think that would help a lot because I see a lot of passion in the the generations of investigators coming out now. They love it. They're very, very passionate, but they want a bit of a that quick fix of paranormal. Oh, it's ghosts. Oh, we got this. Oh, I was in there for 4 hours and my K2 did this and that, and I heard a voice. Could have been someone outside, but I'm going to pretend it wasn't just for my video. Oh my God, all that stuff. Or if they would really just sort of, so the passion and everything and the ability to explore these places is all there. I just hope they get a little more serious about their data collection and what they're experiencing.
And also be open to constructive criticism. There've been, as a team, as an investigator, there've been many times, and this recently just happened at a convention when someone would come up to us and get our opinion, quote unquote opinion, of their piece of evidence, and we'd be like, well, this is what we think it is, and they would get upset, and they would be like, this, like, a lot of teams or investigators still hold on to this one piece of evidence and be like, this, I show everybody, they think it's amazing, and then they come up to us and we're like, well, actually, it could be this, could be that. So be open to criticism, be open to learn from other investigators. Don't be closed-minded. Really be open about it, because we're all here doing the same thing, trying to figure this out.
Well, I mean, what a great way to sort of close this out. We hope to do more of these with you guys because it's true. I think with education and thank you to everybody for being here. You are, by listening to this sort of this conversation in this workshop, you're helping to usher that in, and the mindset that critique is not a personal attack, that we should be a little critical eye about these things and be open and curious, but and to be competent with the equipment that you use and in the places that you're in, and being respectful of those places and the people that are there. So thank you for helping to make this community better with that. That's so awesome. So thanks again, guys. And thanks everybody for coming today. We're going to be moving on to our meet and greets. I want to do that in an AM radio voice. Be like, we're going to be moving on to our meet and greets now. Like, just, yeah. So if you got a meet and greet ticket, so we're going to be moving on to meet and greets. I know you guys are also super busy. Can you tell us, before we move on, where you'll be next and sort of some upcoming stuff? Because I know there are people here. We couldn't get to everybody's questions. There was 50 plus questions in the Q&A. So apologies if we didn't get to you, but please go see these guys in person as well. Where are you guys going to be next?
Ooh, I'll be in Ohio, Columbus, in Indiana, Bloomington. Tango and I will be at Scarefest coming up in Lexington, Kentucky. Super fun. Yeah, and keep your eye on at least my social medias and all of that place for upcoming projects, books, documentary, all that fun stuff we have going on.
New Jersey Paracon, Paraunity will be there as well. So my Jersey people, New York people, California people, come on down. We're gonna have a good time.
Yeah, lots of fun stuff in California. And again, if you didn't get your question asked, maybe get a meet and greet, and that's how you can guarantee you'll be getting a question asked. So one of these sold out meet and greets. So we're gonna be moving on to meet and greets now. If you have a meet and greet ticket, just stay right here. If you don't, I'm going to eject you out of the vehicle at a high speed. I'm so sorry. You're gonna have to go out to the exit.